What's going on, guys? Kenny and Caden here, bringing you episode 24 of the Tinted Visors podcast. And today we are doing all playoff focus because playoffs starts tomorrow. We're going to start quick news, not too much there, but we're going to go into every single matchup, talk about, some X factors, talk about who we think's coming out at the end. It's going to be great.
But before we get going, as always, card of the day. This will be my weakest card of the day on record, and it is my last week out here at school. But sticking on playoff theme, going with my preseason cup pick actually. It's a Jake Ottinger marquee rookie. It's a neon yellow surge, not numbered, but from the beautiful set of OPC Platinum. Really hoping Otter can show up this playoffs for the Stars. He will be a key reason why they go deep if they do decide to. But yeah, Dallas, crazy. Both our cup picks, both in 1 seeds, looking like cup favorites from the preseason. We'll see how the playoffs shake out.
Yeah, and we'll touch on Dallas, but, it's a cool card, and Jake Ottinger's got to get back to, 2022 form, and he can really backstop them to a potential cup. Like I said last week, I'm out of cards, so we're going with jerseys. And not sticking to the playoff theme, we're going to go with the guy who was eliminated a long time ago. It's usually on the back, on the wall during the episodes, but we got the Connor Bedard away jersey. Super clean. I love the white jerseys that they have. That one actually is a real jersey, so I'm going to flex it because I did admit to my fake jersey last week. But yeah, Connor Bedard away jersey, super sweet. Super, super nice design.
Yeah, love those Blackhawk away jerseys. Especially, I really like those shoulder emblems or patches they have. Really cool, very small detail.
Just some quick news before we get into the playoffs matchups. The subjective awards come later, but the objective ones are already out. And Matthews finished the season 69 goals. He was on the verge of 70. Last game of the season, he had I think 12 shots on net, even more that missed. Would have been cool to see him hit 70, but he's got the rocket. Really good for him. I think he won it pretty much like months ago. I don't think anyone was going to catch him. Other than that, Kucherov got the Art Ross. Really close race. Came up until the last few games of the season. McKinnon made a really strong push to try to catch him. And the last one, Hellebuck getting the Jennings Trophy for least goals against during the season. Maybe en route to a potential Vezina for him, but he's had a very stellar season.
Yeah, great seasons from all 3 of those guys. And especially Matthews, on that verge of breaking 70. I know I was watching that game against Tampa. I'm sure you were as well, where he was just kind of throwing everything on net, hoping, something would stick. But unfortunately, he couldn't get 70. 69 is still nothing to scoff at. And obviously running away with the Rocket, like you said, I believe the runner-up was Sam Reinhart, who was, I believe, 12 goals behind Matthews for the Rocket. And yeah, Kucherov edging out McKinnon for that Art Ross trophy. Unreal season from him. He capped it off as well in that last game with 100 assists. Really great accomplishment. Super cool to see both him and McDavid do that in the same year. And then, yeah, Connor Hellebuck, I believe he is en route to a Vezina trophy. We will talk about the awards, as further into the offseason. But yeah, with the Thatcher Demko injury, I believe the Vezina trophy is Hellebuck's to lose.
But yeah, let's get right into the playoffs. And before we get into the matchups, we're going to talk about some surprises. So, Caden, biggest surprise making it and biggest surprise missing out.
Biggest surprise missing out can go to a couple teams. Honorable mention is going to be the Philadelphia Flyers, just based on how they were playing for at least the first half of the season. And, the Pittsburgh Penguins making that big splash in the offseason, acquiring Erik Karlsson. Not as big a surprise to me as the New Jersey Devils, the team I lost a bet to you with. The Jack Hughes injury, played a big part, I believe. But this is a Devils team that won 50 games last year. And it's a huge surprise seeing them move all the way down the standings to missing the playoffs. Coming off of that upset in the first round as well against the New York Rangers, this was a young Devils team that was looking forward to the future, looking forward to taking another step forward this year. And missing the playoffs, that's a huge surprise, and it's a big goal missed, quite frankly. I think they got to fix the goaltending issue. I'm not sure if Jake Allen is the long-term answer, but for me, if they can figure out their goaltending, get a healthy year of Jack Hughes, this Devils team will bounce back next year.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you. New Jersey is the biggest surprise for me. And like you said, if you give them a good starter, I think that is a, perennial playoff team. And it's kind of surprising just because, the Metro was just kind of weak this year. The Islanders were one of the last teams to make it in. And then the Caps were the last team to make it in. And, the Devils didn't really have that much competition in their division, but they just couldn't, they couldn't close out games, and that costed them their playoff spot. Biggest surprise making it, I think it's between the Caps and the Predators. Both teams were kind of, in mediocrity at the start of the season, and no one expected either of those teams to make the playoffs. But the Caps, huge, huge push. I am going to give it to them. Biggest surprise. I just thought they were on the older side. I thought they were on the downfall. But a lot of those guys bought in the last half of the season, and good on them. They're going to make the play. They are in the playoffs now, but the Rangers are going to be a tough customer for them.
It's definitely the Capitals. They are statistically one of the worst teams to make it into the playoffs in some time. And they did have a good start. They didn't have any point per game players. They were kind of getting some puck luck at the start of the year. And come deadline time, they were sellers, dealing Anthony Mantha. So seeing this team make it into the playoffs, I'm really happy for Ovi. But it does look like it's not going to last too long going up against the President Trophy winning Rangers. However, anything can happen in these playoffs, like we saw last year, that wild card Panthers team going all the way to the finals.
Speaking of the wild card Panthers team, we're going to go with our first matchup. It is the Cats against the Bolts. It is the Battle of Florida. Tampa has come out with the only two times that they have met in the playoffs. But for me, I have the Bolts in seven. You're gonna say it's biased. I'll say it's biased too. I gotta back my team. But I think although Florida is a very, very strong team, I think Tampa played better post trade deadline, and I think that they can carry that momentum into the first round. It will be, a long, long series. I think it'll go the full max, 7 games. Um, I could see it honestly going either way. I think Tampa does have the slight edge in terms of star power, even though Florida does have the depth. But we'll see. It's going to be a bloodbath. It'll be a great series. I hope to catch every single game.
I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to say Florida in seven here. But like you said, this is an electrifying matchup for round one. And it's quite unfortunate, really, that this matchup has to happen in round one. But yeah, Panthers in seven. This is two very hungry teams. The Tampa Bay Lightning coming off of that dynasty, getting bounced in the first round by Toronto in six. And you've got this Panther team, the Cinderella team of last year, just coming up just short in the Cup finals. Both these teams are hungry and have that drive to win. And to be honest, I just got to go with the Cats. I really like the depth and seeing what they did last year. This is a better team led by Sam Reinhart up front with the 57 goals. This series could go either way, but I'm backing the Cats. Give me them in seven.
It'll be really interesting, and goaltending on both sides will have to come up big. Bobrovsky's got to follow up his last postseason run, and Vasilevsky's got to sort of prove some people wrong here right now. He's been kind of counted out this season. He hasn't really been up to par. So hopefully, that surgery is behind him and he can really turn it up in the playoffs. Sticking in that division, we do have the Bruins and the Leafs matchup. What a rivalry. Caden, give me your pick.
This is tough and it goes against everything my mind is telling me, but my heart finally says Toronto in seven. I think it's about time they slayed the dragon of the Boston Bruins, and it really just comes down to the offense. We've doubted the Bruins' depth up front all season long, and they've done nothing but prove us wrong. But I'm going to do it again. I just love Toronto's depth. This is where these offseason acquisitions of Max Domi, Tyler Bertuzzi, they got to step up. They got to show why they were brought to Toronto. Bring some of that grit, bring some of that energy, and produce in that bottom six. Boston does have the edge in between the pipes and on the blue line, but honestly, I think it just comes down to Toronto being able to outscore their problems. I think the Maple Leafs offense, the bottom six is really hot right now. I think they can carry that into the playoffs, outscore the Bruins and their problems, and take this one home in seven.
Yeah, I got the exact same call as you. Leafs in seven. Frankly, the star power is better in Toronto. They are going to be without Nylander and Bobby McMahon for game one, but over the long haul, I don't think that should impact them too much. It is kind of interesting that the two best goalies in the series are on the same team with Boston. So I do think whichever goalie starts for Toronto needs to really step up, whether that's Wall, whether that's Samsonov. I don't even know if Matt Murray is going to be healthy for that or not. But defense and goaltending need to step up for Toronto, and if they can get that, I think it should be quite easy for them. Just like you said, I don't believe in Boston's depth, but if they prove us wrong, they prove us wrong. They've been doing it all season.
Sticking in the East, we're going to go over to the Metropolitan Division. Arguably one of the most lopsided matchups of the first round. We have the New York Rangers against the Washington Capitals. Kenny, who you got?
Yeah, I was just gonna say it was really hard to pick from the Atlantic Division, and both of them were going to be very long series. Quite the opposite here. It's a very easy pick. It is the Rangers. I have them in five, but I could very likely see it happening even earlier than that in four. I do think the Caps could steal one. They've been surprising us all season, and they could be resilient. Led by Alex Ovechkin. Who knows? Maybe they can grab one. Maybe they can grab two. But Rangers are going to win. They've got depth, forwards, defense, goaltending. Shesterkin's not up for it. Quick is. I don't know what else to say about them. I think they're going to be a lock to make the conference finals. But I don't think the series is going to last very long.
I have the Rangers in four, and just simply put, there is no reason to be taking the Capitals in any way in this series. The Rangers do everything better, and it's just going to come down to some fluky way that the Capitals do end up making it through this. I could see them stealing one. I could even see them stealing two, like you said. But to me, this is a sweep, no questions asked. And the Rangers, not that anyone in that dressing room is already looking at the second round, but this is almost just a warm up for them in the first round.
And not as easy as a pick, but going to the second matchup in that division, it's still a pretty easy decision. I've got the Canes in five. Same with the Caps. I think the Islanders could steal a couple. They do have some very good defensive players as well as a good defensive system, so maybe that could shut down the Canes because in the past couple of seasons, the Canes offense has been, taking a lot of criticism for not really showing up, especially in that conference finals. But, the Canes are built to go deep. Adding Jake Gensel to that forward core only made them stronger. Not even talking about their defense yet. Their defense is one of the most deep cores in the league. I'm not sure who's going to start in net, whether it's Anderson or Kuchekov, but I think either way, they've got a solid goaltender.
Yeah, hate to sound like an echo, but I'm going to agree with you there. I have the Carolina Hurricanes in 5 games. If Sorokin decides to show up, this Islander team could very easily steal 1 or even 2 games. But I think the Canes are just too deep this year, backed by one of the best defensive cores in the league. And, like you said, adding Jake Gensel to that forward core, you look down this lineup, they got a guy like Martin Necas on the third line. Even if Evgeny Kuznetsov is centering the fourth line, the depth scoring is going to play a huge piece in this playoff run for the Hurricanes, so give me them in 5 games.
Flip it over to the West. We have the Stars and the Vegas Golden Knights. Caden, who do you have and how many games?
This is a crazy series. Like everything else in this playoff year, these first round matchups feel like they should not be first round matchups. You got the defending champs against the champions of the West. I'm going to rock with the Stars, the preseason pick. I'm going to go maybe a little bit of a hot take here. I like the Stars in 5 in this series. Just the best scoring depth in the league. You've got emerging stars Logan Stankoven looking to make a splash in that bottom 6. Another great year from Wyatt Johnson. Not to mention the big boys, Rupe Hintz, Jason Robertson. This Stars team is loaded. I really like Ottinger bouncing back, getting into form in this series. And with Mark Stone having not played in a while, coming off of LTIR, yes, they have Tomas Hertl. Yes, they have Noah Hannafin and, the depth up front. But I really like the Stars in 5 here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a little bit more of a safer pick and pick the Stars in 6. We just haven't really seen this full Vegas team in action yet because Mark Stone's been out. We haven't seen them with Noah Hannafin, with Tomas Hertl, and Mark Stone all on the ice together. So it'll be interesting to see how well they can do because on paper they are a very very strong team, but they've just been very inconsistent this past season. I don't know if it's maybe sort of a cup hangover or what it is, but the Stars are just a lot more consistent, a lot more confidence in that core, and like you said, Jake Ottinger, he's very, very promising goaltender. I think he really needs to backstop them because they do have a good defensive core, but he has been a little shaky throughout the season. So if he can get back to, like I said, that 2022 form whenever they played the Calgary Flames, they could be a lock for the finals.
Sticking in the Central Division, heading over to the other matchup, we have the Colorado Avalanche against the Winnipeg Jets. Kenny, who you got in this series?
I think the earliest matchup that was decided, I have the Avs in 6. I think it could be one of the better series in the West. Both teams loaded up at the deadline. Jets adding Tyler Toffoli and Sean Monahan, and then the Avs adding Sean Walker as well as Casey Middlestat. Both teams are very, very strong. It could be, it could go either way, to be honest. I could see it even going to 7, and then after that, it's a coin flip. The only thing that the Jets have for sure against the Avalanche is the goaltending. Connor Hellebuyck, like we said, potential Vezina winner this season. And Georgiev, they won with Darcy Kemper, and he wasn't the greatest, so I could give them that. But I don't think Georgiev could really backstop them. all the way to the finals. But for the first round, I think they should have the edge.
I'm taking the three-seeded Avalanche to upset the two-seeded Jets in the first round in 6 games. It just comes down to who you're betting against. I'm not willing to bet against Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, or Cale Makar. What is seemingly a very top-heavy Avalanche team actually has surprising depth. They really added to that at the deadline. And if I'm the league, I'm really scared. This Avs team is hungry coming off that first round exit last year. And they're a threat to Dallas in the second round. They're a threat to come out of the West again this year. Like you said, it does come down to goaltending. I do think Georgiev needs to step up big. Hellebuck could very easily steal this series away from Colorado if they're not careful. But for me, give me the 2022 champs in 6.
And now the series you have probably been waiting for. You got the team that you wanted when I asked you a couple weeks ago. It is the Canucks against the Predators. Caden, what do you think?
You got to be careful what you wish for, and this is a red hot Nashville team coming into the playoffs. But for me, I got to have faith in my boys. I'm going to be taking the Vancouver Canucks in 4 games in this series. I could very easily see Sorrow stealing 1 to 2 games, especially with how his players, his Preds have been playing in front of him. But for me, I think this is a sweep for the Canucks. Too fired up to be back in the playoffs. Most of these guys have not seen playoff hockey. And I think starting the series in Vancouver is going to be huge for them. Having that home crowd behind them is really going to fire us up. And I just see us winning in 4. You got to be careful with what you wish for, like the Predators. They could. I've seen a lot of people taking the Preds as their big upset in the first round. But for me, Vancouver has looked too good all year. The depth scoring is still producing. I'm taking the Canucks in 4.
I'll go on the safer side again and go with the Canucks in 5. I could see the Predators stealing a game, especially with UC Saros in net. And they've got a lot of experienced players. Roman Josi, Philip Forsberg. They've been to a Stanley Cup Finals, as well as adding Ryan O'Reilly. He's a very, very good veteran. So I could see them, maybe even stealing that first game, just with all the jitters that the Canucks are going to have. Don't have as much experience as Nashville does. But over the long haul, it's going to be the Canucks. I think they could win. If Nashville wins the first one, I think the Canucks could take the next 4. They've just been strong all season long. We've been waiting for them to sort of falter. There were some signs, maybe in sort of March that, they were looking a little shaky. Elias Lindholm's not really stepped up to what people kind of thought he would be in Vancouver, but, they are a very, very good team.
And last but not least, we have Edmonton, LA, Part 3. Kenny, who do you got this year?
I've got the Oilers, and I've got them in 5. Just the past couple playoffs, the Oilers have just owned the LA Kings in every shape and form. Especially with LA sort of on the downward trend near the second half of the season. They have a lot of good players on paper. It's a good deep team, but just a lot of them are underperforming up to like their contracts or their expectations. And again, you can never really count McDavid or Draisaitl out, especially in the playoffs. A couple seasons ago, I think he was leading the points, even though he was out in the second round or whatever it was. They are just unstoppable. And now when you add, the emergence of Zach Hyman, the consistency of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and they have a good defense core now with Matthias Ekholm coming in last season, and the emergence of Evan Bouchard. Hopefully, Stuart Skinner can maintain his consistency, the second half consistency that is. But I think it should be no problem for the Oilers. They could maybe steal one, but Oilers in 5.
I'm going to go with a little safer pick here. I'm taking the Oilers in 6. The start of this year was scary for a lot of Oilers fans. The Oilers were flailing quite early on, going through their goaltending issues. But yeah, second half of Stuart Skinner, like you said, has been really solid, very consistent between the pipes for them. And the knock on Edmonton has always been forward depth, defense, and goaltending. They have that goaltending as of right now. Hopefully Stuart Skinner can keep that up. We talk about the blue line, the upgrades they made last year, bringing in Matthias Ekholm, and the emergence, like you said, of Evan Bouchard having a breakout year, was point per game this year. And the secondary scoring, it's not just McDavid and Draisaitl anymore. Zach Hyman managed to pop 50. Say what you will about that and the tap-ins. It's 50 goals is 50 goals. They don't ask you how, they ask you how many. And, like you said, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, even Evander Kane has kind of recently been getting back into form. So this Oilers team is looking as dangerous as ever, and if LA couldn't beat them in past years, I don't see why they'd be able to beat them this year. Give me the Oilers in 6.
Yeah, guys, those are our picks for the playoff matchups. Let us know down below what you guys think, whether you guys agree or disagree. And I think we'll get our brackets up on the Instagram as well, so you can check that out. One question before we wrap up the playoff stuff. Out of all the 1 and 4 playoff matchups, the first seed and the wild card, which one is the most likely to have an upset?
It's tough to say. It's always kind of weird betting against a one seed, but to me, it comes down to process of elimination. Florida looks too good this year. I'm sorry. I do think there's an outside chance for Tampa, but I did take the Panthers. The Rangers look too good. I'm not betting against the Canucks, so that's going to leave the defending champs against the Dallas Stars. I think this has potential to be one of the best series we watch in game one. Even though I took Dallas in five, I could very easily see this series going to seven. A fully healthy Golden Knights team is scary. I do think the Golden Knights maybe have a chance to avoid this burnout and at least get out of the first round. So they are going to be my 4 seed upsetting a 1 seed.
There you have it. I mean, every playoffs there are bound to be some upsets, so maybe we will see the Vegas Golden Knights making it on to the second round. That is it, guys, for the playoff special episode. Again, let us know what you guys think down below, whether you share our views or if you disagree with us. We always want to hear. But if we're getting to the best part of the NHL season, it is playoff time. Luckily, we are done with school, so we are going to have a lot more time for content and maybe even making it down to watch a few Canucks games. One of the reasons I picked the Canucks in 5 is because Game 5 is after I'm back in town, so I'm hoping it goes to 5. But I just want them to be in the second round and further, just so I can be in the city.
Yeah, for sure. Playoff time is always a super exciting time. And I know Kenny and I are both extremely happy that playoff hockey is finally back in Vancouver. It's been a long time coming. But yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. Comment down below your Stanley Cup champion. Get it in early before the playoffs start. But yeah, other than that, we will see you guys in the next episode. She wild inside emoji, oh, you got a frown. Tomato to my haters, hope you get lost and you don't get found.